Long before Stormwind's kings, even before the Arathi empires and the Troll wars, there were the Vrykul, towering, savage, and abandoned by the very gods who forged them. This is the true story of how these giants became the unwilling ancestors of humanity, and why they've been forgotten along the way. So steel yourself, traveller. We're sailing to Northrend's most frozen shores to begin this series of human history and lore. In the beginning, the Titans shaped Azeroth to purge the old gods. To guard their work, they crafted the Vrykul, warriors of living iron and stone, standing 12 feet tall with voices that could shake mountains. Their purpose? To serve wowpedia as the bulwark against the Black Empire's lingering horrors. And for millennia they did. They built Ulduar's outer defences and guarded the Storm Peak observatories. And when Yogg-Saron first stirred in his prison, the Vrykul were the first to march against him. But we'll take a step back, because prior to this, Yogg-Saron was not their biggest focus. A race of bear people, Jalgar. You may never have heard of them, and that's mainly because they were cut from being fully fleshed out and described in-game, outside of the Chronicles one. But they were the original descendants of Ursok and the Furbolgs' ancestors. In fact, this lore is so obscure that I did not find it through the Furbolgs when I was doing that video, but I found it through the Vrykul, which is absolutely fascinating. But to continue on with the story, under the leadership of King Yimmeron of the Dragonflayer clan, the Vrykul attacked and drove their fierce enemies into Kalimdor's lush central forest. This is how we get the Furbolg settlements in Kalimdor. Yet, on the heels of this victory, tragedy struck as the curse of flesh had taken their future to a different turn. Deep in Yogg-Saron's prison, something awoke. A whisper, a curse. The old god's corruption slithered into the Vrykul's titan-forged bodies, turning their iron sinews to flesh, their stone skin to mortal weakness. And when King Yimmeron saw his people diminished, he gave an order that would echo through history. Kill the weak. Now, not all Vrykul obeyed. Some mothers hid their deformed infants, children born smaller, softer, their titan-given strength fading. These outcasts were secretly ferried by a band of Vrykuls who had set up in Tirisfal, following the Keeper Tia, but settling here where they'd eventually evolve into the first humans. Here's the bitter irony. Those weak children, they inherited the Vrykul's unyielding ambition, and within fewer generations than Yimmeron could imagine, they'd built kingdoms that dwarfed his crumbling halls. And the Vrykul, they never forgot. To this day, they call humans whelps or meatlings, even lessers, not just as insults, but as reminders of their own failure. On a humorous note, due to the Vrykul entering a hibernation, so to speak, after the curse, for some, especially King Yimmeron, to see his outcasted offspring enter his halls and send him to the Maw of Souls must have been quite the surprise. But onwards to some of that extra content, because buried in Blizzard's history, there's proof they almost told this story quite differently. So, as a first mention, this is what the Vrykuls would have looked like, taken from Wrath's Alpha. They're a fairly low poly, almost vanilla-esque in style, and there's a rumour tagged to this photo that there may have been a plan to bring the Vrykul into vanilla. The Vrykul went through a lot of changes before actually becoming absolutely pivotal in Warcraft's core history. The Wrath of the Lich King game manual actually stated that the Vrykul were descendants of giants, having absolutely no link to the humans. This was later retconned with Chronicles 1. In fact, the Vrykul were originally described as vampiric, a giant race of life-siphoning humanoids. Though this aspect didn't make it into the game, the Bloodthane Lucard questline in Stormheim was likely a nod to it, and the San Lane eventually ended up as the vampiric Scourge race. But now, the Titans are returning, and the Vrykul story could actually be far from over. With Tyr making an appearance again, the Iron Vrykul, Odin's metal-clad loyalists, could rise as a playable faction. Imagine Paladin Vrykul wielding Tyr's light against the void. We have the Earthen, of course Dwarven Origins. We have Mechanomes, of course, both playable. There is just one left. And what about Midnight? To contemplate possible futures, what if Xal'atath targets Ulduar's weakened wards? We might see Yogg-Saron's curse return, turning more Vrykul into flesh-twisted monsters. Since, after all, the curse of flesh was never just a punishment, it was a weapon, and Azeroth is still covered in scars. The Vrykul were never just monsters. They were victims of the Titans' abandonment, Yogg-Saron's cruelty, and truly their own pride. But now, their descendants, the humans, the ones who they have despised, might be the only ones who can save them. So what do you think? Should the Vrykul return as allies? I personally think that the Vrykul of the three Titanforged hates their curse of flesh the most, while the Earthen and the Mechanomes did a phenomenal amount with them. I think the Vrykul may stay unplayable. But let me know in the comments, and if you love WoW's Untold Origins, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I can't believe it, we are still just growing every day. I think we're at 1200 now, which is just phenomenal. Thank you so much. Please do have a lovely day.